What's up, everybody? Today we're doing ball joints on our 04 6.0 Power Stroke. It's an F250. Specifically, 99 through 04 was pretty much exactly the same, and honestly this video will hold you through even pretty much up to current production, some size differences, some parts differences. I did one on a 15, I will link that down in the description below if you guys are looking for a more specific to your truck. But basically it's the same job, just some slightly different sizes on things. Things you're gonna need: jack stands and a jack. We actually use 2 jack stands once I have this tire off, and the axle sits on the jack stand, well, one of them, and then there's a backup. Plus I keep my floor jack a little there as well. But we might need to move this to put pressure on the lower ball joint when we're taking the top nut off, so stay tuned for that. Sometimes that is something we need to do. Now, I do have more stuff out than you need, but I wasn't taking my sockets off their strip, so I have 3/8 and 1/2 inch sockets out here. Honestly, one or the other for most of this will suffice. I do have my impact gun. It makes using that press to put the ball joints in and out a lot easier, although a really big wrench or adjustable wrench from Harbor Freight does the trick as well. We have a couple pry bars here. Obviously the optional power tools, they're not 100% needed, but they do make life a little simpler. This guy here is to put your vacuum seal back in properly. Not 100% needed, but it is preferred to do it correctly. I'll have some cheap affiliate links down in the comments below, or excuse me, description below, to get yourself one of them. I think I paid like 40 bucks for that. With the ball joint press over there, we also need the adapter kit, which is in there, along with a smaller ball joint press. I prefer the bigger one for these big trucks. It just makes life a lot easier, but I have gotten away using the smaller ones. Obviously, upper lower ball joints, don't do one without doing the other. It's not worth saving the couple of bucks you're gonna, if only one's bad. Just replace them both and know you don't have to go in there. A new vacuum seal as well is needed, or preferred. Again, reasonably priced just to get it. If you're doing it yourself, you're saving a ton of money. Make sure you're doing it right. Almost forgot to mention that you will need the mini sludge. This makes it easier. Pickle forks and snap ring pliers are also going to be needed during this. I missed a few things. I will get it as I'm doing the video. All right, these next couple of steps you can kind of do in different orders. This hub assembly needs to come out. You can use any pliers for this. This part's pretty easy to come off. I do like these 90 degrees for it though, but pretty much any set will work. Then you just start rocking this back and forth. If you need to, a rubber mallet is helpful as you start getting it. And there it is. This is like bone dry. Could definitely use some grease. And these could honestly probably stand to be replaced as a whole. So that part comes out. So a good set of snap ring pliers here, definitely needed because there's a snap ring in here. I will say, these with like a very thin body, these are Knipex or however you say it, are my favorite. Other reasonable ones, I would go for this style. I don't like the adjustable ones. I don't think they work as well to get this out, especially for you 05 and newer guys. These made a big difference. I broke a lot of other ones prior. Icon has a cool pair that's very similar. Those are my recommendations. I think Craftsman does too. So this snap ring, there's now 3. So I always tell people you want to keep this same order. So this flat washer, this one, and then another flat washer is the order that these go in. So set these somewhere aside. Obviously this video kind of helps you guys if you do misplace these, know the order. I think it's a little different on the newer trucks. I forget it, but at least for these guys, that's what you got to do. All right, next, like I said, that part and taking off your brake caliper can kind of go back and forth. It doesn't matter. I always have something that I can kind of secure my brake caliper up, at least the part that's connected to the brake line. Other than that, doesn't really matter. So I have an 11/16 and a 13/16 for my truck. Some of these bolts may not be the factory size anymore. Pop it out this way. One thing I want to say is you're taking stuff apart, take some time to clean things up. Like, I'm actually surprised this is coming off at all. Like, we're gonna spend some time cleaning up some of these surfaces, putting some anti-seize on it, not the threads, but this back here. It will make life easier as it goes together. This will need to be replaced in the future. It's doing okay, but it's definitely starting to rust through from sitting for so long. I'm a big fan of when you're taking this stuff apart and it's getting ready to go back together, spend some time cleaning and prepping your surfaces so things come off relatively easily, because realistically this should all look much worse, and it's not bad at all. So this cotter, we got cotter pin here, start pulling out. I did spray this one down a little. I'm actually surprised how well that just came out. Sometimes these get to be a real pain in the butt. All right, we got 13 16ths here. Hit it with the old impact. You want to be careful hitting this directly on. So once I take this off, I put a few threads on because I'm going to pop this with a hammer here. Four bolts behind here, a couple small attachments we got to take care of now, so I'm going to get working on that. So the nuts behind here are 13/16. There's 4 of them. Again, this is an 04 truck. You'll have to turn the steering knuckle to get access to each individual one. Some of these are a little tight to get to, I will say that. So one up top. So there's 2 on each side, one up top, one down low. Same thing on the other side. There's a little Allen screw here for this sensor. So you can either take this sensor out or trace that thing all the way up and just unplug it. If you're replacing the wheel bearing, you have to unplug it. And I'm really surprised, but that came off way easier than I would have thought. And I'll help you sneak this sensor out back here. Be careful, don't mess this up, although you do want to clean it up. It's pretty filthy. I was not anticipating this piece, I forgot about it, but it just sits here. So this is the axle shaft itself here. There's a big vacuum seal in here that holds it in place. We need to pull this all out. Oh joy. So this is where your pry bar comes in handy. Your pry bar is behind where the U-joint is, and you start pushing forward. Sometimes you do have to like hammer this out, and it's not fun. Hopefully ours just comes out nicely. Huh, ours did come out nicely. I've never popped one of these out that nice. I think there's a metal splinter in my hand. Feels real crappy. Yep. At this rate, I might have to stop complaining about ball joints. So yeah, don't use your small pry bars. Use a decent sized one. I think it's like 2 foot, something like that. And that came out super nice. So I get like behind where the yoke for the U-joint is and start pushing out. And yeah, that went so much better than I was expecting. I did forget to tell you there's a hose here. That's part of your vacuum line. You gotta take that off. You might not have that if you don't have the vacuum line for this. I don't know if that was just like an XL thing or if there's manual transfer cases that was a thing, but the electronic shift on the fly stuff with automatic hubs will have this. So don't take this piece out. you're only asking for it to need to be rethreaded to get in there. Just pull it out, call it a day. I definitely have I believe I have an axle inner seal leak on the axle shaft, because in the tube itself is wet. I don't believe that to be all coming from a ball joint, so that's something that needs done. These were both 33mm for me. I actually bring, to get the lower one here, I actually come through here because the steering knuckle will move with me as I'm doing this, so I can get it off. The top one I just use an impact gun, very easy and fun. The bottom one though I can't get an impact on, so breaker bar and a big wrench, ratchet. So now's the next part where we typically struggle. So the first piece, there's a bushing in here that needs to come out, and typically it'll start coming out just as you're hitting. I do always try to see where this is. So this is pointing right out from the truck. There's a little opening. I'm going to try to match that up the best I can. But literally, if you just start banging on this, it starts coming up. We're also going to get our pickle forks. I will say this, I have a pickle fork set that also hooks up to an air hammer that can be very helpful for this. I'm going to try to not hook my air compressor up because I have to run a power cord to it because an outlet died, and I haven't fixed it yet. We're going to start driving it in. The other thing, don't be afraid to heat these. Now just, we're going to see how it does just like this for me, but heating up the this piece here, that's the actual axle, I guess yoke essentially, that it receives the ball joint, the top of the ball joint in. Don't be afraid to put some heat on it if it's giving you a hard time. The other thing, I put these nuts on a few threads on each of them, and I use them to hammer them out. It also will catch the steering knuckle when it does fall, and then you just take a few threads off and you're good. Yeah, well, that is the easiest I've ever had ball joints come off. I've never had this bushing not come out though. I will say that that's different. And there's that. Typically the bottom one has a snap ring on it. That's the word I'm looking for. These are ready to be driven out. Now, if you're doing this by hand, you want to put this in a vise. It will make your life 1,000 times easier. We're using a tool. It's not really that big of a... All right, so if you do have one of the grease fittings on here, you do want to take that off. And basically at this time, we're just getting this mocked up by hand before we bring our impact out. So one thing as you're doing this on this ball joint, this thing's so loose is it wants to keep coming down. It won't stay in the ball joint. So I'm just kind of giving it a hit or two and then bringing it up. Hit or two and bring it back up, like just trying to... Okay, there we go. There. Once we were out, it was super easy. Like the gun didn't struggle at all. It is stuck in here, but there, all done. So in the top one here, we have a slightly different setup. Again, we took the piece for the Zerks fitting here out. On this top one, the top of the ball joint actually comes through there, so we don't really have to worry about that as much. And we just got this set up by hand. I always put this on the side it's going to go to. So it's going to press towards the right. So why not just get it ready? Impact gun. Alright, so a little bit of a unique setup to get Super Duty ball joints back in with this kit, but it does work fine. So you have an adapter with a closed top that'll let you press this ball joint in. Now, I think these are Mevotech TTX ball joints. They come with their own adapter to just hit this shoulder. So I have their adapter, just a straight piece, and a closed top so I can press this down. We're doing the lower ball joint first. On the other end, we have what's really just a receiving plate, which is something that's larger than the ball joint going in so that it can press all the way down, and then just another piece here to hold it on the ball joint. So I always get this set up by hand first before I use it. You want to press your ball joint in a little bit just by hand, give it a little tap with your hand to get it in so it stays put. That way you can press it in evenly. And here we go. You also don't want to do the, like, once it's seated, you're done. Don't go crazy trying to hit it in there harder. You're just making your life easier, and you could mess your ball joint up or your C-clamp here. So as soon as I saw it stop moving, I undid it. Let's see if it's hopefully in far enough. Yep, the C-clamp should fit on there. Let's put our C-clamp. C-clip, we're gonna put our C-clip on there now, and then we'll set up the upper ball joint, and everything can really start going back together. We did prep and clean all these surfaces. In here we just took some light sandpaper just to get some of the ridges and corrosion out, and then I lubed it up with just a little WD-40. Some people like grease. In my opinion, it doesn't really matter. Just put something there to protect the surface. All right, lower ball joint is installed. I really like these. They got a nice, they have this clamp around here for the dust boot. I am a fan. They have these plugs. Obviously, we'll be taking them out. We'll grease these up then, so I probably won't grease them up till they're on the truck, but let's get our top one ready. Again, they have another installation tool. Does this go? This guy. For the top one here, we actually have we don't need that two-piece thing I used for that. We just have this that'll work fine. And again, I have this adapter here. It's larger than that. So this is our setup for the top one. A little simpler, but essentially the exact same idea as the other one. We're gonna clean this up. I like they include these this little adapter. That's nifty. So we're gonna put our other stuff away. So again, we're gonna start this ball joint in here a little. This is really just to make sure it's pressing in evenly. Our adapter, it's very important you're pressing on the shoulder. I mean, realistically, this, no, it's not long enough, but this is a nice piece. And it will actually let a wider assortment of these actually work on this, so that's actually pretty nice. Again, you want to just center this all up. Okay, I forgot to film putting the steering knuckle on, but it's the 2 bolts. You're just reversing the process from earlier. I hold it up with one, get both in. This piece, there is this spacer here. This comes out many times doing ball joints. This is the first time I've actually had it not come out, so that's really weird to me, but whatever. So when this comes out, I just try to line up, there's like a slit in it. I try to line it up the best it was to however it was when I took it out. You still need to get an alignment after doing a job like this, but that's doing okay all in all. These ball joints I really like, actually. They have a notch at the top and then an Allen key on the bottom one, and that's if the ball joint stud itself is spinning while you're trying to tighten these. You can, this top one is obviously takes a pin in the side to help prevent this nut from backing off. Down below you just keep tightening. So I tightened this one, I got this down to the plate, then I tightened the bottom one. I went back and forth a few times. Nice and sturdy here. These do need to get grease in them as well. I did not do that yet. I need to actually probably go get some grease because I don't think I have any, but I digress. We can actually do that once it's assembled. You can get in and do the fittings and such, so no real big deal there. We spent some time prepping all these surfaces, so we have just kind of got rid of, like I said, the corrosion and rust, brake cleaned the crap out of this. I did lube up before putting anything back together. It just helps prevent corrosion from forming in the future. Try to find factory spec unless your ball joints come with a spec you should be using. Although I will say it gets a little tough, like when you have the stud spinning on this one and you can't really do it, so I had to have an Allen in there on a socket and then a big 15-inch crescent wrench to tighten that one. I did it to the best I could, so we'll see how that goes for me. Alright, so once you have your axle shaft in, and this vacuum seal I just have kind of pressed on the very beginning of it because it does take a fair amount of force to get it on, and that's where this tool comes in handy. So that's how you know you're starting to press it on. Make sure everything's still lined up nicely. Alright, we'll put this piece in here as well. Alright, now something to remember. So we took a couple things off here. We need to pop this back in. I cleaned this sensor and just got it all dirty again. So we put that in there. Then you don't have to bend this all up. Putting that back. Make sure our stuff lines up here. Very good. Right now just going on by hand. Actually going really nicely on by hand. All right, guys, from here, put your tire on, torque down to whatever you need. We're gonna get the wheels on. And I always like to give everything a once over. Do I have my cotter pins in place? Do I have all my stuff hooked up? For instance, here's another hose that definitely needs replaced. That thing is not doing good. Give these one last double check. Any bolt that isn't definitely secured, like, just give everything a once over, guys. There's no reason to rush. Even if you think you need to, give yourself the time to do it. Affiliate links to parts and tools down in the description, guys. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. The 6 liters back. We're getting it road ready. Hang tight, and I'll see you in the next upload.